Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video. My wife the worker. I met my ex-girlfriend in college. She was one of the most beautiful ladies I'd ever seen. She was often trailed by a swarm of lads. Over the course of 4 years, I attended a couple courses with her, but I never pursued her because, well, all the other men. She approached me after class one day and asked if I wanted to study with her, and the rest is history. As a result, we tied the knot. We started our careers in the same industry, but with different companies. A male-dominated industry. While she battled, I achieved quick success. She changed occupations within her first year. She continued in her fight. In her third year, she became pregnant with our first kid. She persevered throughout the pregnancy. Her doctor suggested a cervix biopsy at a routine exam a few weeks after she gave birth. The tests revealed the presence of precancerous cells. The doctor advised us to have more children as soon as possible since this problem would deteriorate and a hysterectomy would be necessary in the future. So she got pregnant again whenever she felt like it. She gave birth to second son within a year after the first. Following that, other tests were conducted, and several specialists advised us to begin treatment as soon as possible since we couldn't afford to wait. Her surgery was performed when her 2 children were still infants. She was disappointed that she couldn't have children, since we had planned for a large family. She worked hard to become a fantastic mother, and she was successful, She chose to be a stay-at-home mother. She was in charge of everything at home. Meanwhile, my career was advancing. I was offered a position with another company with a large pay raise. Life is fantastic. When the boys entered school, she volunteered and eventually became a regular. I should say that we went to school together. A and B. We saw each other all the time. Their first kid was born around the same time as ours. They have a single kid. We went on family vacations, meals, and travels, and we were the best of friends. After the birth of her baby, A, the mother, returned to work and is now fairly successful. B also had a good job until around 2001, when it was terminated. Because the economy was so awful at the time, he had difficulty finding work in his field. Because they did not want to move, it was arranged that he would work as a sod while looking for jobs in the area where we lived. The X and B participated in children's activities together. They hung together even though they were all in school. You may probably deduce that they had an affair by now. I realize this is a long story, but it is not yet finished. In the morning, after almost a year of great, B asked X whether she and I had ever considered A. We were still having a fantastic, if not slower, connection, so it was all dream talk. B wanted to invite a buddy into the bedroom with them. The X concurred. The day came, and this individual, C, arrived to B's house. As X and B warmed up, he took off his suit. As a result, they had their trio. Following that, the man said that he was accustomed to having to pay for, so he left a few $100s and asked X if he could have a one-on-one with X. She said that she needed to think about it and that B would contact him later. C ultimately recommended another person, and a corporation was formed. B ultimately got a new job and had to leave X alone. She dialed another phone number. She rented a storage unit and turned it into a closet/office. She spent the money on apparel as requested by her clientele. She even purchased a vehicle since she didn't want her minivan to be seen at a hotel. A decent hotel room had to be paid for by the boys. She stored the automobile in a storage facility. Everything had to be paid for in cash. I don't recall her ever bringing money into our lives. However, throughout the summer, we would send the kids to different day camps. She said she had to lower our budget to pay for it. She worked solely throughout the school day. She was usually the one who picked up the boys from school. On rare instances, B would pick them up and keep them till she returned home. Our family's well-being was never jeopardized. I admit that I was working a lot and making my way up the corporate ladder. Weekends were set apart for our family. Because of my work schedule, I thought it would be best to have on weekends. Most nights, we'd curl up on the couch and watch TV. When everything is finished, the year 2016 will come. We have 2 boys, one in college and the other a high school senior. I get a call from B. X has been taken to the hospital. He was evasive, although he did state that she was in a lot of agony. I rushed to the hospital, where my wife is up to a variety of machines. They've already cleaned her up and x-rayed her. She's suffered a fractured jaw, a broken nose, an orbital bone fracture, and a possible concussion. She'll make it, but it'll be a long road. A police officer completed his duties and left. Of course, I'm interested in what happened. She was yelling and speaking gibberish due to her tears and pain medications. I was instructed by a nurse to let her rest. They were going to lock her up. She handed me a bag full of her clothes. I glanced inside and asked if they were hers since she seldom wears heels and the ensemble seemed strange to me. This is what they brought from the hotel room, according to the nurse. As a consequence, I was pushed out of the room. I called my guys to let them know. Later that night, when the drug's effects started to wear off, I was able to put together a portion of the story. She vanished once again. I asked my youngest son to stand in for her and dial B. What prompted him to contact me? How could he have known about it before I did? What is the situation? So B informed me what my wife was up to while leaving out the adultery and his participation. I was devastated. We were able to bring her home after she had jaw surgery. The nose, on the other hand, would be patient. She became better at home. I discovered the whole story as she became stronger. I phoned A and told her about the affair, as well as B's pimp status. B was ejected. As she rose up, I told her that we were finished. I asked her to go. She moved into B's residence. I began the divorce procedure. For the last 5 years, I've been divorced. I'm still in love with her. It's as if she's no longer alive. The agony of grief is unbearable. My boys are well aware of what she has done. I haven't heard anything from her since she left. Update 1. I made the original post a few weeks ago. You may look at my profile. I didn't post an update since there wasn't anything to say. Until last night, that is. I got a phone call from my eldest son, R, who is away for the holiday weekend. He received a phone call from a friend informing him that his brother, S, had been in a motorbike accident. He was riding beside him but did not see the crash since he was going ahead. I rushed to the hospital's emergency room. They were cleaning S and taking x-rays of him. I was advised to take a seat and wait for the doctor. I heard my name a few minutes later, as I was laying back and closing my eyes. When I glance up, I see my ex standing in the doorway. She inquired about the latest news. I said that I was waiting. She inquired as to if she might sit with me. I motioned for her to take a seat next to me. I haven't seen her in 5 years, since the divorce. I had no idea what to anticipate. I expected her to be deformed as a result of her beating. She wasn't all, despite the fact that her face wasn't as lovely as I remembered. The only difference I saw was that her eyes no longer gleamed. This was a feature I couldn't get enough of. Her eyes didn't appear the same even with the mask on. It's interesting what you observe. Her face used to light up when she smiled. I'm guessing she's simply resting face now. Anyway, as we waited, we had an anxious catch-up conversation. She commented on how much she enjoyed the landscaping I created and how the plants had developed well. This indicates that she has passed by my home, where I have no clue where she lives, and my boys were instructed not to mention her to me. I attempted to get rid of any recollection of her throughout and after the divorce. I replaced the shrubs in the yard since she had designed and planted them. I forgot to note that the interior of the home was also remodeled. I even tore down a wall. For months, I had a construction dumpster on my driveway. She inquired as to how I was doing. I'm not sure why, but I was honest that I had brought myself to a halt by working too hard. I did, however, recently see a therapist and join a gym. I've also started riding my bike. She offered that she no longer. She simply left it at that. She remained with B for a few months. She was also seeing a counselor, who advised her to take some college classes related to her major. That took a few years. She is currently working full-time. She said that she had dated seldom, leaving the comment up for me to respond to. I believe the lads were keeping her up to speed on my whereabouts, so I didn't have much to say. The doctor arrived and discussed the nature of the damage. The most significant injury was to his foot and ankle, which were trapped under the bike when it crashed. He was going to have surgery today. Everything is okay, all he has to do now is recuperate and rehab. So, depending on his head damage, a little concussion, he'll be until at least tomorrow. I offered my home as a place to stay since I have a room and can work from home. We will finish it today, despite the fact that his mother will want to visit. That will be a process of healing for me. Final update, my kid is doing great. He has a long way to go. We've agreed he'll remain here until he recovers. He intends to return to work the following week. His supervisor is arranging for him to work from home. I can barely fit him in the back seat of my SUV because he has to stretch. It would be a nightmare to drive him to and from work every day. Everyone has been wondering about the ex's visit. When she arrives, I leave. I go to the gym or ride my bike. My eldest son attempted to have a sit-down meal with the four of us, but I refused. She has been quite nice. She has not attempted to impose anything. She approaches and sits with our kid. She will prepare supper for them. When she cooks, she brings groceries. When his buddies come over, it may become a little boisterous for me, but when there are guests, he forgets about his issue. It would be an exaggeration to say we never converse. Our chats are always about our boys and their life.